talking today about how to navigate through the negative vocalization, because I've preached to you guys every week about communication and expressing yourselves more appropriately. But until you are in that relationship where your partner's expressing themselves appropriately, I'm going to kind of give you guys a heads up on some ways where y'all can redirect. And this is only effective when you have emotional intelligence, because if your partner gets you wound up and now y'all are yelling at each other and you're not able to think clearly, then yeah, you're going to be retaliating to every response that she gives you, and that is not going to help your relationship. And she's going to win the argument because you're going to stop talking. But it's about winning the argument. My goal is to resolve the problem that led to this argument. So this helps you because you got to understand that one of the things Steven said, bet I got to sleep early today, got to grind tomorrow. Oh, definitely, because everybody who had today off got half a day off yesterday, and this is like a 4-day weekend for some folks. That's why they spending their whole paycheck on them fireworks outside. But yeah, the individuals that get into those fallout, drag out arguments in their households and they don't work it out, they end up in a situation where they're not talking to one another. Sometimes that leads to somebody going to get a hotel and taking time apart because the apartment is not big enough for them to sleep in separate rooms, or the house isn't big enough for them to sleep in separate rooms, or they don't want to be seen fighting in front of the children. So usually it's the dad that's sent away, the man that's sent away, and the woman gets to stay in the house. That's usually how it happens. It's not always though. And when that happens, now dude is paying for a hotel somewhere else because the girl is pissed off. And if he's not affording a hotel, he's crashing on his homeboy's couch because the wife is pissed off. And dude don't even know why he's sleeping on his homeboy's couch, but because the wife is pissed off, that's what's going on. So that costs you money, which comes out of your shares, which comes out of your future. So a petty argument today can slow down your own personal growth financially for your financial future. So I'm like, well, let's go ahead and talk about these egos and see what we can get into. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe, join the membership if you can. Also, remember that you can click the link, approve the mic, approve the camera, come on to the show in real time, or you guys can put your comments into the comment section, and then we can have discussions on the show about from everybody's perspective about what's going on the show today. So we are an interactive podcast. This is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, but it is an open-minded, open mic podcast. So anybody, even if you disagree with what I have to say, feel free to put your comments in the comment section appropriately. Trolls, hecklers, I know y'all are going to dive in at some point, and if y'all got something to say and it's appropriate, I'm okay with off-topic information. But when you start getting too appropriate or hate speech, I got to get rid of you. Straight up, as soon as it looks like hate speech, it's done. I'm not even going to give you a second chance with done. Like dry humor, I'm okay with. Dark humor, I'm reasonably tolerable about, stuff like that. But if you dive into the channel with some hate speech, even if it's about me or anybody else on the channel, you're done. Like, I just want you to know. We had to deal with that earlier this week. So let's go ahead and dive in to this topic of the day. And I want to paint a picture for y'all. Imagine this. The fight is over. Y'all ain't talking. The whole house is quiet. But it ain't that good kind of quiet, is it? Nah. This is that heavy quiet. That quiet that's so thick you could cut it with a knife. You lost again. And you know why you lost. Not because you were wrong. Not because you didn't have a point. You lost because a fight was never about fixing nothing. It was about winning. and your partner, oh, your partner is the heavyweight champion of the world. You're just left there with this empty feeling in your gut, knowing that in your relationship, there's always a winner and a loser. And you're starting to realize you can't remember the last time your relationship actually won. And what if I told you this whole thing, this draining, knockdown, drag out fight for who's the boss, ain't just about them being stubborn? It's a pattern, a deep one. And you ain't powerless against it. Not at all. Come on now, you know what exactly I'm talking about with these types of arguments. That feeling of being tired all the time, not sleepy tired. I'm not talking about just, exhausted from being around all day. I'm talking about that soul tired, your heart heavy kind of tired. You understand what I'm telling you? Tired of having to tiptoe around, choosing every single word like you're trying to defuse a bomb. Ladies, this type of feeling leads to men not telling you everything. You actually will find yourself in a position when y'all are communicating with men, and y'all are the ones that want that full transparency. Men just want to know what's going on to the magnitude of what do I got to pay for and where do I got to be at to make sure the shit's successful. That's all men care about. He's not about like every single whereabout. He wants to know where you at so that you safe, but who you with and why you late and this, that, man, we not really going down all of that, especially after couple years into the relationship, we done got married and stuff. We could care less where you at, especially with all of the drag out arguments. We sometimes we good that you gone, like you left. All right, long as you safe, shit, that give me some peace now. But ladies, y'all want to know what's going on. Y'all want to be in the loop, especially if you're in a relationship where more than 60% of the time your boyfriend or your husband is making the shot caller decisions. But these drag out fights put a wedge between you and your partner that most people don't think about. And the men always lose these arguments. Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. The men always lose these arguments, and women are not going to like this. And I understand that. But ladies, y'all have to understand that there are traditional phrases like happy wife, happy life. And a husband is always wrong, even when he's not wrong. A woman is always right, even when she's not right. These phrases come out as traditional, stereotypical phrases in our society that all walks of culture talk about, that let men know going into this relationship, these knockout, drag out fights that happen where it's all about somebody being right. If you want to stay married in a happy relationship, you have to accept that you're wrong when you're not wrong. You have to accept that it's your fault when you don't know what's going on. And that's part of being a man. That's what we're taught. And we're only taught this because women have not come to understand that being right is not what it's all about. Winning the argument is not what it's all about. And women will win the argument by any means necessary. You sandbag how you feel about stuff. When problems occur, instead of talking about it, you say nothing's wrong when there's clearly something wrong. And if he can't figure it out, that's another thing for that one big argument. And y'all will get over it eventually, but you never address the problem. Then all of these things that you never address because you don't want to talk about it, you want him to figure it out because he's supposed to be a mind reader. Y'all put your relationship in a catastrophic position, because then you have all of this resentment because he never figured out the things that went wrong. Even if it wasn't his fault, he just didn't catch it. And now you're in this position where something was said, something was done, and now you're unloading that bag. And you're just throwing this situation out from a week ago, this other situation out from 6 months ago, some situation from 5 years ago, the past that has been so far in the past that he can't change the past, but you still mad about it. Situations where you said you wasn't going to be mad about it again. You mad about it again. And all of these things are going to lead to a scenario where your boy can't win for losing. He's some of this stuff like, yeah, that happened. And as soon as he agrees with you that that happened, he didn't lost the argument. But the argument didn't start because he was wrong. The argument didn't start because he did something. The argument started because ideally you were dissatisfied about something, whatever it was. You were rightfully dissatisfied about something, but instead of you vocalizing the core dissatisfaction that you had, you're just flipping out for the sake of flipping out so that your anger and resentment and pain could be transferred onto your partner so that they can feel how you feel. And now once you felt like they feel the way you feel, the misery that you've harbored without sharing it is now shared, then it's done. But that's not a healthy way to go about doing things. And that's why we're talking about this today, because, you know, if you are in that type of relationship and a guy feels like, you know, if you pull the wrong wire, if you say the wrong thing, if you make the wrong step in the wrong way, then boom, your partner just explodes on you. Another argument that goes absolutely nowhere. This ain't just a little communication problem. See, this is a crack in the foundation of your house. When one person in a relationship, doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, would rather be right than be happy, than be in peace, that foundation starts to crumble. The trust starts to fade. The intimacy, it packs its bags. And bitterness starts to move in, brick by brick, till you can barely even recognize the person you fell in love with. Now, let me break it down for you. This needs to always be right. And when you understand that these individuals need to always be right, it ain't really about the dishes or the money or who was supposed to take out the trash. It's a shield. It's a protecting a part of them that is scared kind of shield. Scared of being wrong because somewhere, sometime, somebody made them feel like being wrong meant they were worthless. So now being right is how they survive. It's how they feel like they matter. But here's the deal. Them protecting their own fears is coming at a cost of your peace. Folks in the counseling business will tell you this right here, this breakdown where one ego is running the whole show is one of the main reasons couples fall apart. Now, I told y'all the statistic. Relationships typically last about 1 year, 5 months, 6 days right now. That is not that long. Less than a year and a half is the average relationship right now. Over the course of 10 years, you can find yourself in 7 relationships and consider them long-term relationships. Long-term relationships is 5 to 10 years, but because the average relationship is considered long-term because it runs its course, a 20-year marriage runs its course in a year and a half. The rest of us that are not doing those year and a half long relationships are 3 months here, 6 months there, 9 months over here, where over the course of 5 years, you've had 7 relationships, situationships, friends with benefits, where if you think about it, regardless of whether or not you blame the other person for the fact that your relationships ended, you're in your mid 30s or your late 40s, you're still single. You've had a bunch of bad relationships in your past, and you can attest to the majority of those relationships ending in an argument of some kind. Doesn't matter if somebody cheated, if somebody did something with the money, if somebody, lied about something. It doesn't matter what happened. The relationship ended it ended with a fight. That's how it ended. There's very few of them where you guys had a talk. It's a change in life circumstance. One's moving for work. The other one doesn't want to move because of work or family or whatever. And y'all have an adult conversation and agree to part ways. It very rarely happens that way. even in situations where I got a promotion, but I got to fly to another country, it's still usually a situation where y'all argue, y'all fight, y'all argued and fought, that led to the person that's leaving town taking the job, taking the promotion, because the person originally was on the fence with the promotion. And before they could come and talk to you about the promotion, you kicked off mess and they said, well, fuck this relationship. I can take my career and go somewhere else and give you some space. And that's what happens. Then after that argument, a few days later or a week later, they tell you, hey, I got the promotion. And you're going to be happy for them because, you know, you won the last fight. The situation squashed itself, but nothing got resolved. And now your partner's telling you, I'm flying to another country. You know, and if you always see it where the person being left behind asks the question, when did this happen? You don't have to ask when it happened. The situation started before you kicked off the last fight. And he didn't want to leave you behind, but he can't take you with him. And he didn't know what to do. And before he could come and talk to you about it, you kicked off shit. So that made the decision for him. Y'all making the wrong decisions in y'all relationships. And this is going to go both ways now, ladies. This isn't just about like all y'all, because ladies are successful boss ladies these days, and y'all are able to get these promotions, and y'all are able to get transferred to the other side of the country or the other side of the world for the business. And y'all can have that drag out, fallout argument with your boyfriend over the Xbox or some stupid shit, and make that same decision. It don't matter. You know, arguments are arguments. Eggshells is eggshells. And the truth of the matter is that relationships is falling apart because we're not making those right decisions. You in this situation, you're starting to lose your voice. You start questioning your own mind, burying your own needs just to stop fighting. But what if you could change the rules of the whole game? What if instead of putting on boxing gloves for the next round, you could make it so there was no fight to begin with? All that old advice. Use I feel statements. Practice active listening. I tell y'all this all the time. That's all fine and good, but it don't work when you're dealing with a stone wall. That's because you're not just having a disagreement. You're talking to someone who feels like they're fighting for their life. So today, we're about to throw that old playbook out the window. We're getting into 3 new strategies. Some of them might feel a little strange, a little backwards, but they are designed for this exact mess. This ain't just tips. This is about moving from a battlefield to a building site where the two of you can finally start to heal the relationship. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn is going to change everything. Now, real quick before I pull off, I want to let y'all know that because it's the holiday, stock market did a half a day on Wednesday. It's closed on Friday. It's closed throughout the weekend. No trades have been made. The stock market did dip when we put our money into the 2 harbors. It did dip Friday, and it dropped to 45 cents, but it hasn't had the opportunity to bounce back, because as soon as the ex-dividend date occurred on Wednesday, there was a half a day on Wednesday. So, well, no, on Thursday, it was a half a day on Wednesday. So after trade stopped on Wednesday, Thursday, there's nothing going on. So here we are on Friday. So we got in, and we don't have any more trades. So right now it's at, I think, 1055. It was at 1090 something before the drop. I got in at 1077. So I'm going to see what happens between Monday and Tuesday. And depending on what happens between Monday and Tuesday, when the stock shifts will depend on how much the stock increases on Monday, and if we will be seeing a 20 or 30 cent recovery after the ex-dividend before we do our sale. Now, since there's only like a 20 or 30 cent recovery difference between when I bought in versus when I sell. The 45 cents a share that I get off of the actual stock is offset by any loss that I'm willing to take if I decide to sell before the stock reconciles itself. And that's going to reduce the quantity of payout that I get for the specific transaction. But it's important to make the transaction, get the X dividends, and then take the difference and walk on over to GlobalNet. So the goal is to get GlobalNet by the 10th, because GlobalNet has to be on the books for the 11th so that you can get paid for GlobalNet. So if I remember correctly, GlobalNet being on the 11th is what, 7 days from now. And today is Saturday, so 7 days from now is Friday. Well, no, today is Friday, so 7 days from now is Thursday. And that means that you have to have it on the books by Wednesday, which means that you should sell Monday night, Tuesday morning, so that, or sometime Tuesday, so that it clears in time for you to pick it up by Thursday, so that you're on the books before Friday, so that you can make that trade. Basically, that's how things are supposed to go. So I'm going to be reminding you guys throughout the week to, make your sale quick enough, because it's going to be 1 to 2 day turnaround with your money. And since it's going to be a 1 to 2 day turnaround with your money, you want to make sure that you got about 48 hours from the day that you sell, so that your money clears before the end of business day on the 10th, so that you can make your purchase on the 10th and still be on the books before the end of business day on the 10th. And as long as you slide in there at the last minute, you're good to go. You got more time after you buy into GlobalNet, because from GlobalNet, I'm going to be recommending that we buy into Zim. Zim is supposed to have its ex dividend date on the 2nd. So we got to buy it before the 1st, which also means that from next week on, like the 11th, and we're going to be scheduling it to sell after the 11th, which means that we can sell it anytime between the 11th and the 20th. And we can at any point in time buy into Zim between the 20th and the 25th or 28th, and be on the books before the 1st, so that we have Zim, and then we can start our rotation for August. I've got to skim through August, so I'm going to be letting you guys know what's going on for August, because we got a few new ones that we're going to see if we can squeeze in, if possible, making sure that the ones that we squeeze in do not compromise our ability to make the ones that we do regularly, unless the ones that I'm squeezing in will pay out more than the ones that we get paid from regularly. So we do have a buy and hold scenario for our monthlies, and then we're taking our quarterlies and we're doing a rotation with our quarterlies. So it's 2 stacks of cash, and we're seeing an increase every month. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that, we're going to make it do what it do. So back to today's topic. Let's start with something that's going to feel real. Unnatural when things get heated is going to be what we're going to be talking about. So the things that are unnatural but real. You got to be the one to stop the fight and sideline the ego. I call this one ego timeout. It's got 2 parts. Seeing the ego for what it is, and then putting it on the bench. First, you got to understand what's really going on. An argument with someone who has to be right ain't a logical conversation. It's an emotional fire. Their brain has decided that your point of view ain't just different, it's a threat. That kicks off a survival instinct. Logic goes out the window, understanding disappears, and the only goal is to survive, which means they gotta prove you're wrong. No matter what it takes. You see it in their eyes right as you're talking to them. The way their jaw gets tight, the way their voice changes. See, that ain't your partner. Think about how Your partner right now in this particular moment ain't talking to you no more. That's their ego in the driver's seat. Like the teacher, Byron Cates said, defense is the first act of war. The second that wall goes up, you're at war. And what's your first instinct? To fight back, to state your facts, raise your voice, and meet it head on. But all you're doing is banging on their shield. You're proving to their ego that, yes, this is a fight to the death. And the whole thing just spiraled down. You cannot win a war against an ego with facts. And guys, that's what we've done on a regular basis. You cannot win a war with ego using facts. Men are more logical and rational. And the reason why men are more logical and rational is because men calculate based on this, based on that, statistically, probability, success is imminent based on, failure is imminent based on. If we do X, Y, and Z different, we'll see X, Y, and Z result more likely occur. We can look back on hindsight and assume certain situations could have changed. Okay, lingering shadow. You said which book to recommend. Okay, I tell you what, we've got a couple of books right over. Are they over here, or did we relocate them? I got a couple of books. There was a Alice in Crypto Land that I was looking at, and it was over there. And then there's also How to Retire Off of Dividends with 8%. That was made by Tom Owens. So those two books, you see them on my podcast. If you Google Crypto Land, or if you Google Retiring Off Dividends, you'll see those shorts. They have links to those books where you can go pick them up from the source. Those are good investment opportunities. The Alice in Crypto Land book. Let me see if I can find it, because I know I had it. We had it over. I had moved a bunch of books around earlier today. Let me get them for you. There we go. We've got our Retire Off of Crypto right here, and our Alice in Crypto right behind the computer. So Alice in Crypto Land is a good book for you to get, because it's a book that's going to tell you guys about how to invest in ETFs. And it's a comic book scenario, like what we used to do when we were reading the Sunday paper. And you had the funnies like Garfield, and then we also had the hard page, Sunday page. They had the stuff for the people who really wanted to learn some stuff. And then you have from Brett Owens and Tim Jacobs, you had the How to Retire Off Dividends and Live Off of 8%. Now notice how this guy wrote a book. These two guys wrote a book about, and they give you all kind of tips on stocks and ETFs and option trading. But they're talking about 8%. I was telling you guys, using the dividend rotation strategy, about how to make 168%. On the low end, we're looking at like 75% return on your investment, which is a whole lot more. But it's active trading, not just putting your money somewhere and letting it float and then just living off of the interest, which is a good way to go, because once you make $1 million, and 8% of $1 million is still what, $80,000, and that gives you plenty of money, because if you're married and your money is sitting still, that $80,000 is inside of the $97,000 tax bracket of non-taxable income from the government. So you can have an $80,000 payout and not have to be taxed on that for your stock option, and you don't have to do shit. You can just like leave it on autopilot and just get paid. But if you're trying to build wealth, and you're trying to build wealth fast, you're going to utilize the dividend rotation strategy to try to get your money up, so that you can make yourself successful quicker. Special shout out to those that are talking to us from Twitter. Lingering Shadows is from not Twitter. She's from Twitch. So I appreciate you for showing up. And then Lingering Shadow says, do you like Matt Damon? Matt Damon sounds familiar. I don't remember Matt Damon. I can't picture his face. I don't have any beef with Matt Damon because I don't remember who Matt Damon is. I don't pay attention to celebrities. If he ever says something that was worth listening to, then I might quote him when I'm talking on my show, but I don't. Oh, he was the crypto.com commercial. But that was a commercial. He's not like the spokesperson for crypto. He's not Satoku, the guy who created cryptocurrency. So if because Matt Damon reminds me of a celebrity that's like an actor that probably was seen in a commercial, and that's almost like asking me like, do I like John Cena representing like First National Bank or something like that? Like a celebrity who does not know why he's in this commercial, but he's being paid to be in this commercial kind of thing, just because they endorse it. If there's a celebrity that's endorsing it, doesn't mean that they know anything about it. So, you know, if Matt Damon has a whole podcast that he's talking about it, then that's a whole another scenario. So Matt Damon got you into investing though? You really appreciate what he did for you? Well, that's fantastic. I'm not going to say that the man is wrong because I don't know anything about him. I have not seen any of his content to be able to comment heads or tails about him. I said I know the name is familiar, but here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, we definitely talk about ways to invest and ways to make our money make money for us. And I also, on the weekends, we talk about ways to improve your ability to make proper decisions in your personal life so that you're not negatively impacting your money, which also gives you the ability to put more money towards your investments, because these knockdown drag out fights that I'm talking about today usually leads to making up. And making up isn't about the sex. Making up is about somebody buying a gift for somebody else to make them feel better about the fact that y'all had an argument over nothing and did not resolve the argument. And to break the silence, somebody goes and spends money to make the other person start talking again. And that's a waste of money because it's a peace offering. And that's a peace offering that you could have put into the stock option and made you some money. So something as simple as a ridiculous argument could cost you unnecessary money in your relationship that negatively impacts your future, not only for the foundation of your relationship because of all of the resentment building up, but the lack of financial stability in the relationship because you're emotionally wasting money for the sake of making peace in a relationship. Lingering Shadow says these big names can really help really bring people in. Probably so, but until I can link with some of those guys to get them to co-host a show the way I had Sarah on the show before, who was a dating coach. I also had All-Star Izzy on the show, who was also putting his information in on his observations of dating. And, you know, as I come across individuals, if they've got knowledge, if they've got information and they want to do a cross-brand promotion, then yeah, I'll hook up with them. He said, you also give great advice. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I do fact-finding information. So while Matt Damon might actually have been doing this for maybe several years, a couple decades, and he might have been investing in trading and you know, coming off of his trial and errors and his failures for decades, the fact is that I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and I have done deep dive information, and I have done statistical analysis, and I've been able to give you guys real-time information, foreshadowing information. Not saying I'm any better than he is, but I am showing the average person that lives from paycheck to paycheck, that you can readjust the way you spend your money, readjust the way you save your money, and then readjust the way you distribute your money into your investment portfolio so that you can have money to trade. And then I'm telling you guys that there are ways that you can trade in your investment portfolio so that your money is making money for you, so that you can start seeing larger returns, so that you can start increasing your wealth, so that you can find yourself in a position where you have extra money to go on that vacation with. You have extra money to upgrade the house if that's what you want to do, to get you a functional car if that's what you're trying to do. If your goal is to put your kids in college, if you're trying to build a retirement, if you're trying to build an inheritance to leave the kids after you pass, to build trust, to set things up so that the kids ain't fighting in probate, the trust just pays all the beneficiaries. I cover a lot of things. I cover how you guys can build yourselves small businesses, use your kids as employees, you pay the kids, instead of giving them an allowance, pay them for being productive, teach them how to invest, teach them how to build their own portfolio for themselves so that they can learn financial management stuff at a younger age, which makes their rational and logical decisions work a whole lot more effectively through their teens. So instead of them wanting Jordans because everybody's got Jordans, they want a pair of shoes that's reasonably priced because they know the cost of the value of money and how hard it is to get it. Then instead of you arguing with your kids about what you can't afford, your kids can argue with their friends about why it's stupid for them to go beg their parents for money for something that they don't need. You know, if the children are more informed, then the children aren't bleeding your pockets dry. Then if you're teaching your children and you're negotiating with your children and you're cycling through with your children, some of the things I've been telling y'all about over the past few months, if your children are employees and you're paying them money, you don't have to buy them nothing other than their bare necessities. All of the luxuries they pay for themselves because they earn the money to get it. But you can change your parenting style with your kids, because instead of arguing with your kids and putting down rules and restrictions, you can treat your children's behavior like fines. If you don't do what you were supposed to do, you got to give me back certain quantity of money. Instead of me saying, oh, you're grounded, you got to pay for your freedom now. You locked up. So if you want to get out, you got to pay the warden. Show them how being an adult is. But in doing that, when they come in and reciprocate back for their punishment, they didn't bought their way out of trouble. Because that's what you do when you bail yourself out of jail. That's what you do when you pay that traffic ticket. That's what you do when you pay the cost of court for whatever stupid reason when that you're in court, so that you can go on and live your life. That's coming out of your daily money. As a parent, when they're reciprocating with you because they made a bad decision that cost them some money because they gave it back to you, that gives you more money to give back to them. But that doesn't change the fact that they got paid in the first place. So that gives you more capital to redistribute to them. So it helps you renegotiate with your kids. So now on a logical and rational basis, you're able to tell your kids what you expect them to do. They fulfill the job. You show them responsibility. You mentor and you coach them at the same time. But then you show them the cost of making bad decisions by taking the money back out of their pocket. And they can't go nowhere until they pay the cost. That's how that works. And then the kids have to find a way to be more responsible so that they're not broke. Because if they're about to do something stupid and they're going to have to pay the warden, if you know what they're going to do, right? They're going to have to put that bail money aside because I'm about to do something dumb, which means they got to save their money, which means that they're going to learn how to save their money for emergencies, right? Catastrophic failure, right? Idiotic behavior, right? But also you're going to have some kids that are going to learn, I don't want to waste my money on that because I might want to get that Xbox 6 and get the GTA 7. You know, I might want to get the new PlayStation. I might want to get the new pair of Jordans. I might want to get myself a car before everybody else. And I'm not wasting my money on that, whatever my friend got me about to go do, because that's going to get me in trouble and take me away from my goals and my dreams. And that's going to lead your kids to being more financially responsible so that they're not depending on you at 25, 27, 39. So these things happen for reasons. The lack of communication and the lack of knowledge being transferred from generation to generation. So my podcast is solely about providing knowledge to individuals, but I've tuned it to improving your financial position coupled with improving your personal position, because your personal life decisions negatively impact your money and your financial decisions negatively impact your personal life. And I put it together into one podcast that'll help the average person improve. Matt Damon can help people on a grand scale. I'm going to help the average everyday person change some of their decisions, because when you hear the fireworks popping in the background, certain stocks as low as Orchid Island, it's like $7.05 a share. And if you think about how some of them bottle rockets that they was buying was like $5 a pack, $10 a pack, you would have just bought 70 shares, 80 shares worth of fireworks. And when I'm telling y'all how this past 30 days, we was getting a few $100s off of each trade that we was trading, where the money went in, and a few days later, the money came out, and we had a ton of money, and we spent about 2 minutes buying a stock and 2 minutes getting rid of the stock. In less than 5 minutes, we made a few $100s off of the couple hundred shares that we was moving around, where you guys wasted a few $100s on fireworks. We talk about how y'all drinks at the bar, every drinks at the bar between $5 and $10 a glass, and with stock options is less than $10 a share. Every time you buy a drink, you're throwing away a share worth of money plus tip. You know, we talk about packs of cigarettes. The cigarettes cost almost between $16 and $18 a pack in New York. And, you know, we got stock options that are $17 a share that we were buying this past week. And so every time you buy a pack of cigarettes, 2-3 packs of cigarettes a day, you're throwing away 2-3 shares a day every day of the week. And we're sitting over here thinking, over a year, you could have took that money and put it somewhere else, and you would have way more money, because what the average financially challenged person does, you're broke whether you're making $100,000 a year or you're making $50,000 a year. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have enough money to cover the state, you're in a position where you're self-medicating by paying for habits to take the stress away about not having enough money to cover the spread. While you're doing that, you're also in a position where you're spending money that you don't have to make you feel better about not having enough money, which digs you into a further financial hole. And that is something that you guys need to change. So that's what we talk about here on the show. So I really appreciate Lingering Shadow. Make sure that you follow us, Lingering, and we'll be able to do more financial discussions throughout the week. But let's go ahead and tiptoe back into this discussion about fixing your relationships, because I just want to get you guys to understand that these fights, it's not about the women being wrong all the time or the men being wrong all the time. It's about the fact that when y'all have a fallout, typically it's a man's responsibility to make up with the woman. Women don't have to go out and buy a guy something to make the guy feel better. Some do, but not all do. She might buy an expensive outfit, put on something sexy, and then, you know, have an adult interaction with him to make him feel better. Or she might spend extra money on buying his favorite meal to make up with him or something like that. The guys typically are the ones that are out buying gifts, dresses, rings, flowers, and a bouquet of roses is like $250. So when I tell you guys that having these fallout fights is costly to the relationship, not just emotionally, but financially, that's why I'm talking to you guys about it, because we got to fix that. Because each time y'all fall out and y'all don't make up, you're striking the edge of the cliff without getting off the cliff. And eventually that cliff is going to break and you guys are going to fall off. So to prevent that from happening, I'm telling you how one of y'all, it doesn't matter if it's the man or the woman, that recognize that these arguments start out of nowhere, end nowhere, resolving nothing but 20 minutes, an hour, 5 hours out of your afternoon. Y'all have been arguing about absolutely nothing. Everybody's mad at everybody, but nothing got done. And then the next few days, y'all not talking to one another. Y'all steaming. Y'all talking shit about each other to your friends and your family members, and trying to get relationship advice from single people who don't want you to be happy. So you're talking to the ladies. Y'all are going to be talking to other ladies that's going to encourage you to stay single. Fellas, y'all are going to be talking to dudes. And if you're talking to dudes in your own age group that hasn't maintained a happy relationship, they're going to tell you to fix it, but they're not going to know how. They're going to tell you, man, you need to go over there and go talk to her. And that's probably the best advice that they can give you. They can't help you understand her side, but they can help you understand that you need to get your ass back over there and go figure this shit out. So you're not getting golden advice on how to navigate these relationships, which is what we're supposed to get from our elders. And since we don't have that golden advice, the Eastern cultures are family oriented. So anybody in your neighborhood would be communicating with you about how to work on your relationship. Go listen to the other person. Communicate. Did you know that they felt about this while you wasn't around? Did you know that they was hurt and they was looking for you and they was missing you while you wasn't around? Y'all not gonna get that out here in America. In the Western culture, every man for himself. So if your relationship fall apart, somebody else is trying to slide in there and scoop up the person that they was looking for. So you're not gonna see that positive enforcement from a Western society. So you got to figure out a way to fix your own relationships. And here's where you flip the script on that. The second you see that ego take over, it is not a first person observation situation. You're not going to see the ego in yourself start taking over. No matter how you look at it, we are easily able to find fault in somebody else that are the same faults that we have in ourselves. But we are quick to be the first person to throw rocks in a glass house. So if we feel like our partner is selfish, we're probably being selfish too. We feel like our partner is ungrateful. We've probably not expressed gratitude too. We feel like our partner is ignoring our feelings and leaving us out of decisions and not including us when things require both of us to do something. We're probably performing the same way, because you cannot recognize somebody fucking up without actually experiencing it yourself, probably doing it. So this means that in order for you to recognize that that's wrong, you know it's wrong because but you're calling them out on it. So we're not going to recognize when ego takes over, but we'll recognize when their ego takes over. So when the defensiveness is there, the blame is there, the you're not listening, your goal ain't to win the argument anymore. Your new goal is to calm the storm. And you got to be the one to do it. Now, this ain't about storming out and slamming the door. That's just another way to keep fighting. Because when you're storming out, when you're slamming doors, when breaking car windows by slamming doors and jumping into the car and speeding off, which could lead to one of y'all getting into a car accident and not making it home. The argument is going to continue when you come back because the other person who won this round wasn't done fighting. Because this fight is going to be a way for them to vent all of the unresolved resentment that exists in the relationship, but it's not going to resolve the problem. It's going to let them vent the unresolved resentment in the relationship. And you don't want an argument about venting. You can have a conversation about venting. You can have that resentment-free, judgment-free zone where you talk about all the things that you want to talk about without the other person being pissed off at you or lashing out at you. That takes practice, though. But as it pertains to these arguments, this is a calm, grown-up intervention. You need a phrase, a go-to phrase you got to memorize and have it ready to go. Could be something like, hold on, I feel like we're getting off track. Can we just pause for a minute? I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. I need 5 minutes and then we can come back and talk about this. It's a way to kind of put a pin in a situation where we're not gonna dismiss this, but let's just, take a minute, breathe about this, and then, try this again. Look, here's another way. Look, this is important, and I do want to understand you, but right now my defenses are way up, and I can tell yours are too. Let's just reset. You see what you did there? You ain't blaming them by saying my defenses are up or I'm feeling overwhelmed. So instead of you pointing the finger at the other person, you're projecting to them that you are no longer comfortable in the conversation. And you're taking charge of the pause. You're making it about you, which makes it real hard for their ego to attack it. Because as long as it's about them what they did wrong, how they're behaving. Their defenses can defend them. Their defenses can't defend you. So you're showing them the very thing you want to see. During that 5-minute break, and literally, it's got to be like around 5 minutes. It's enough time for you to go to the bathroom, maybe go to the fridge and grab you a drink, and then come back, and y'all are going to address this. But in that 5 minutes, you got to do some work. This ain't about going into the other room to think up some new zinger. Go get some space, close your eyes, breathe deep. You got to get your own self calm first, because you can't put out the fire if you're on fire too. Now, I want you to picture your ego for real. It is a screaming kid, a suit of armor, a barking dog, whatever it is, see it. Then I want you to imagine taking that ego and setting it on a shelf. Tell that screaming kid you'll talk to it later. Take that heavy armor off. You're not getting rid of it. You're just choosing not to let it run the show. Then, and this is real, prove of a very improved pro move now. Do the same thing for your partner. Okay? Picture their ego, that angry defensive thing, and separate it from them. See it as a big old shield they're holding. In your mind, you gently take that shield out of their hands and set it in the corner. See the person you love standing there without it. You got to remind yourself their ego ain't them. It's just a scared part of them. Doing this ain't for them. It's for you. It lets you get back into this situation where you can go and talk to the person, not the shield. When you walk back in that room, the whole goal has changed. You're not there to prove your points anymore. You're there to understand. You can start with something like, okay, I feel better now. Can you tell me again what was bothering you the most? I want to make sure I really hear you. And you can follow that with, I'm sorry for my part and how that went down. It's this clear, big deal scenario that we have to address. So you could tell them exactly that. It's clear that this is a big deal to you. Help me understand where you're coming from. Now, let's say y'all are fighting over a credit card bill. It gets heated. They yell, you don't respect me. You just spend money and you don't care how hard I work, right? The old you would have shot back, that's a lie. What about the new TV you just had to have? And now y'all are in World War III. The new you see the ego. You see the fear under the anger, the fear about money, the fear of not being appreciated. You say, whoa, let's pause. I can feel us both getting hot. I'm going to go grab some water or a beer or whatever. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Some of y'all, she going to follow you. Oh, we ain't done. Just give me a minute. I'm going to address all of your concerns. I just need to clear my head real quick so I can give you my undivided attention. Letting them know that this pause in the discussion, the argument that's about to take place, is not a pause of retreat. It is so that you can gather yourself, so that they have the spotlight that they want. Letting them know that they're going to have the spotlight that they want if they give you the 5 minutes you need to gather yourself. That they'll give you that 5 minutes, because they're going to have the whole floor to complain about everything they want to complain about, and you're going to give them your undivided attention, which to them is going to be new because they're not used to you not lashing out. And this is going to give them the ability to also calm down and regroup, because they're going to be a little bit confused that you paused on the moment and said, hold on, let me let me grab a drink and then let me figure this out. I'm gonna come right back and then we're gonna talk about this so that I can figure out exactly what's going on. What is your concerns? Right now, in that break, you put your own angry ego on a shelf. You mentally separate their scared ego from them. You remind yourself that fear is talking to them. The fear is talking. You're not talking to them. You're talking to the fear. You want to remove the fear from them. And then you come back and say, okay, I'm ready to listen. It sounds like you're feeling really stressed about money and maybe feeling like it's all on your shoulders. Is that right? Tell me more about that. You see the difference? You just sidestep the whole trap. You ain't agree that you're irresponsible. You ain't lost nothing. You changed the game from a fight about who's right to a talk about who's scared. You took control, not by being louder, but by taking the bullets out of the gun. That's step one. If this whole idea of calling a timeout makes sense to you, it's because you know how fast these fights can go off the rails. To help you out, I made a little something for you. It's a one-page guide I call the conflict de-escalation cheat sheet, and it's got a list of these pause phrases and a simple guide to the ego timeout and questions you can ask to turn a fight into a real conversation. And you can get them off a YouTube membership right now. And having these phrases in your back pocket can change everything in that moment. But don't let another day get ruined by a fight that didn't have to happen. Go to the membership and get your copy. And now let's get to the strategy of number 2. The second strategy picks up right where the first one left off. You call the timeout. You bench the ego. Now what? Your next move ain't to restart your case. Your next move is to get radically curious. And I ain't just talking about asking a question. I'm talking about a real shift from trying to win to trying to understand. And you pair that with what I call strategic validation. You got to validate the feeling behind what they're saying, even if you think the facts are dead wrong. Let me tell you something. In a relationship fight, facts are useless. You can show up with a stack of receipts, a notarized affidavit, and a PowerPoint presentation, and you will still lose. Why? Because, like we said, an ego-driven fight ain't about facts. It's about feelings. Feeling safe, feeling valued, feeling seen. When you come at them with facts, here's the bank statement. Look at this text. You said this last Tuesday. All their ego hears is you're wrong, you're dumb, and you're bad. That is going to get 10 feet thicker, building a bigger wall there. They might even start making things up just to protect themselves. And y'all know that a lot of times when a person gets emotional, they start coming up with hypotheticals, and these hypotheticals start becoming off the wall scenarios that would never happen in your environment. These off the wall scenarios that would never happen with the type of decision making that you and your partner has. But if they build the right hypothetical, if they build the right fictitious scenario, it's not the scenario you're in, it's the what if scenario. And the right scenario gets you to agree that that scenario over there is messed up. Once you do that, they won the argument. But they're not going to stop with winning the argument, because as soon as you admit that that scenario is messed up, that's when they start attacking the fact that they've been right this whole time and you're hard-headed and you don't want to accept that they're right, because it's all about winning the argument. Bayside said, Xander, a lot has to do with the way they were taught by their parents, and they repeat whether it's good or bad in my experience, it's just never being taught financial literacy. It's not just about financial literacy, because I'm using an example about financial literacy, but let's take an example like y'all share one car. Y'all have to both be in two different places at the same time. One of y'all gets dropped off, the other person takes the car. Then the person who has the car is supposed to come back and pick up the person that got dropped off. Something happens where the person that gets dropped off has to wait longer than necessary to get picked up. You forgot to come get me. Your business meet you got the car, and instead of you going to get your partner, you're staying late on the job, covering extra stuff, looking good for the boss, but your partner out there in the rain waiting on you. That could lead to an argument. Y'all got kids. It's your turn to come and get your kid, but the business meeting ran over. Your child still out there by the basketball field, not getting picked up, standing out there in the rain, holding an umbrella by himself. These are the kind of arguments that happen where life just gets away from you, and you don't have a logical reason for it. Life just gets away from you, and that leads to an argument. And if it's happened more than once, the argument starts with your lack of validation of your responsibility to go and pick up the other person, whether it's your child or your wife. And sometimes, ladies, this is the same thing where the women are hardworking women, and they prioritize their work before they prioritize their family, and they might not pick up the child from school, or they might not pick up the child from daycare, and the husband's got to go get it. They might forget to come and pick up the boyfriend. So it's not just about money. You are correct, Bayside. It is about taught, or the way they were not taught in their childhood, because they're learning from the negative ways that their parents engage with one another, and they assume that that's the way that they're supposed to communicate in a relationship. They also were not taught in a relationship how to navigate these things, because they don't get advice from their parents. And when they get advice, the advice is always coming after catastrophic failure. But typically, the parents that got the divorce are the ones that can give you the best advice about how not to get divorced. Plain and simple, because the ones that never been divorced are only going to talk to you about how to avoid conflict, which is walking on that, navigating your way through that minefield. Agree with your wife, apologize, but never resolve the issue. So you're repressing how you feel. You're taking the sacrificial sword so that she can vent and not be mad at you, but you're resenting her, and she's always right. So now you're in your man cave venting with your homeboys about how your wife is nagging you because you're not validating the fact that she's not satisfied about whatever's going on. And there's no change being made, because instead of y'all negotiating improvement, you're instead ignoring what happened, arguing about dissatisfaction, and then moving on with your day without making any changes, which means that your partner is going to continue to be dissatisfied, because whatever just started the argument is going to happen again, because you haven't tried to find a solution about not having that happen again. If you take the car and bring the car back with no gas in it, then when I need to go to work, I got to spend 30 minutes at the gas station trying to fill up the tank. If this happens all the time and we never discuss that that's negatively impacting me, I'm going to be pissed off every time I get in the car. And that means I'm going to work angry every day, which has me having problems at work. And then when I come back from work, I'm frustrated because I'm having problems at work. You don't know why I'm having problems at work, but you're the reason why I'm having problems at work, because I just cussed out my boss because I got to work 30 minutes late because I had to sit at the gas station filling up the gas tank again because I'm waiting on you to come back with the car. Instead of us having that conversation and saying, well, look, let's make a plan to keep the car above a half a tank of gas, and then top the car off on the way in. That way, when the car comes in, the car's got gas in it, so that whoever goes out's always got a full tank. That way, nobody's got to stop by the gas station on their way out. They stop by the gas station on their way back in. You got plenty of time to get home. You are on a schedule when you leave in the house. That type of discussion allows you to recognize that somebody is negatively impacted by the fact that the car doesn't have enough gas in it. And everybody's time is valuable. So instead of it being your responsibility only, we both put in the effort to make sure that the car never goes below half a tank. We got gas cans in the trunk. We've got all kinds of stuff to say, well, fuck, if you ain't got enough time to put gas in the car, there's 5 gallons in the trunk. You go to the job, you do what you got to do on the job. You take the 5 gallons out the trunk, put it into the car before you start the car, bring it back to the house. And if you can't stop by the gas station on your way in, that 5 gallons, depending on what kind of car you got, should give you a quarter tank, if not a half a tank more of gas, which gives me the opportunity to go to work and then top the car off on the way back. But either way it goes, the car's got enough gas in it where I'm not sitting at the pump for 30 minutes pumping gas into the car before I go to work. That type of discussion prevents y'all from fighting over something petty, because it's not always about money. Yeah, money is 67% of the reasons why, 87% of some relationships as to why they fall apart. The lack of recognition, the lack of validation, and the lack of compromise is the rest of it. So you're right. It is about the lack of prioritization from the parents to teach the kids stuff. And that's why I tell y'all about financial literacy with your children. But when you're not arguing about money, when you're arguing about absence, if your partner is arguing with you because you spend more time at work than what you spend at home, you're missing recitals, you're missing games, you're missing practice, and you're out there working so that you can make enough money to keep them in the house so that the house don't get foreclosed on. You're not asking your partner to go get a second job so that he or she can help you out so that you can spend more time at home, but you're missing all of the important parts of your kid's life. That's another argument. How do you navigate that? Because your parents wasn't negotiating that correctly, especially if your family lived in a divorce. So how do you work through that? But that was a fantastic input there, Bayside. That was a fantastic input. The need to be right hides deep fear of being wrong. It ain't about them wanting you to be wrong. It's about them being terrified of what it means if they are wrong. A lot of people in relationships, and ladies, this is going to apply to y'all, but not in a negative way. Ladies, a lot of y'all date up. Y'all find a good man. He's financially better than you. He's taller, he's smarter, whatever. Y'all pick a guy y'all claim is on your level because he's better than you. So your life elevated because you're with this guy. Now, when you do this, some of y'all are subconscious and you feel like you're not good enough for that man. Now, I'm not going to talk about the abusive side of how y'all tear him down so that he's not willing to go nowhere. I want to talk about the fact that this defensive ego of always being right comes up because if you're wrong, some people feel like they might not be valuable in their relationship because the only thing they feel like they're capable of contributing is being right. Like their value and their worth in a relationship is being right. So if you imagine that, and then you imagine the arguments that start, like ladies, y'all say that when y'all start getting raises and promotions and y'all start making more money than your husband and your boyfriend, and then y'all end up in money fights and y'all end up with petty squabbles where your boyfriend's kicking off arguments. It's the same dynamic. He's insecure about the fact that his position in the relationship could be jeopardized by him being wrong, by him not being good enough to provide correctness, accuracy. And this is going to make them feel like they're stupid or not good enough or unlovable. When you keep pushing the fact that you're accidentally poking the bear, when you're pushing those facts, when you're pushing the truth as what we would call facts, you're poking the bear with a fear stick. So of course, they're going to fight you to the death. The only way is to make the conversation about their feelings, not about who's right or wrong. When I talk to you guys about logic, I talk to you guys about in these arguments, in these discussions, when you guys have a difference of opinion, I immediately take feelings out of the discussion and tell you guys, well, if you separate feelings, separate fault and blame, and focus solely on the problem itself, what went wrong and what can we do to fix that? Like I told you the example about not having the gas in the car. That doesn't, just focusing on what went wrong doesn't always work with a person that is talking with feeling. You have to first address the feelings, then address what went wrong. That way they're listening when you're trying to resolve the problem. If they're feeling hurt and unloved and unrecognized and unvalidated, they don't care about the problem, because the problem is that they're hurt, they feel unloved, and they're unvalidated, but they're using the fact that there's a conflict about the car, there's a conflict about transportation, there's a conflict about money to express that. So it's like misdirected rage. The only way around that is to make the conversation about their feelings. Okay? Radical curiosity means you make a choice. You decide that you are more interested in what's going on inside your partner than you are in proving you're right. Now, this is hard to do. I know it is. It means you got to tell that little lawyer in your head to sit down and be quiet. I tell people a lot of the times that I do not apologize for anything that I did not do intentionally. So if I meant to do that, I'm not sorry for it. Even if the outcome wasn't what I expected, I did that. So I'm not sorry for the outcome. Recognizing, though, if the outcome had an indirect consequence on somebody else that turns out to be collateral damage, you did not intend on hurting that person's feelings. That hurting of their feelings might be entitled of an apology. I'm sorry that you feel that way. Specifically taking responsibility for how your decisions and your actions impacted their feelings. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm not sorry for the outcome of what I did, but I am sorry for how you feel about the outcome of what I did. You're owning and taking responsibility for their feelings, which does validate them. Now, doesn't mean that what you did is wrong, because you're recognizing that their feelings are hurt. You're not recognizing that you made a bad decision. You're just recognizing that their feelings are hurt. And that's not what you wanted. So since that's not what you wanted, that's not the outcome that you were looking for, that wasn't your goal, that wasn't your mission for the day to piss them off, you're apologizing for their feelings. That's it. Now, instead of that little lawyer in your head, you got to become a detective of feelings. Your tools ain't facts. They're open-ended questions that can't just be answered with a yes or a no. Here are some of your new secret weapons. Help me understand what's the most frustrating part of you, part of this for you. And you know what? Let me think about it. I'm gonna do just like I do with the stock tips. I'm gonna give you some of these in the comment section so that y'all can write them down and take them with you. Help me understand what's the most frustrating part of this for you. Okay. I want y'all to take these with you. He choking in his sleep. When this happens, what are you most afraid of? And when you ask this question, some of y'all are going to get those people that lash out, I ain't afraid of nothing. And you can quickly follow up with, then what exactly is your concern? Because when you start talking about their feelings, when you start talking about their emotions, you start really, it's like first post therapy. Instead of you paying somebody $250 an hour to work this out between the two of y'all, because that's what the therapist is going to end up asking y'all. You can start asking this to one another. Here go one. He said, Bayside said, thank you, QI and Diana. The food is fucking amazing. So I don't know who QI and Diana is, but Bayside says special shout out to QI and Diana because the food is amazing. So put that out there. And then they need to send us a package some food up and send it over here to the podcast. The next one, I love this one. Walk me through it from your side. I want to see the whole picture. And this one is good because I'm not telling you that you're right. I'm not telling you that I'm wrong. I just want to understand how you're looking at this situation that's got you so pissed off at me and the world. Right? Here go another one. Walk me through it. No, hold on. He said accidentally thought it was my text. He texted somebody that their food was a shit, y'all, and now the whole world know it. Hey, it is what it is. Look, today one of them days where the internet is lagging out. I don't know why the internet lagging out. There we go. Here go the next one. This is obviously really important to you. What's the main principle here for you? Asking them again, what is the main point that got you so pissed off? Right? Here go another one. It feels like there's a story behind why this hits you so hard. Can you tell me about it? And a lot of y'all that are dating somebody, be it male or female, they get pissed off about some stuff. And usually when this happens, it's because something happened in their past, whether it's from their last relationship or their childhood, that's got them acting ass on you right now. Not all the time is it that you did something that triggered them. You could just be in a situation that they're reliving that is triggering them. And if this situation is hitting them that hard, there's a story behind why they acting the way they acting. And if you understood why they was acting the way they was acting, two things. You're not going to be pissed off at them because you understand that this is misdirected towards you because you hear when they're going through these feelings, not because you caused them. Notice, you ain't asking, why do you feel that way? Why can sound like an accusation. Why do you feel that way could sound like you're not supposed to feel that way. So why are you feeling that way? But help me understand, that's an invitation. That tells them you're on their team, not against them. As you start asking these questions, they're going to start talking. Your job is to listen for one thing, the emotion. Are they scared? Do they feel disrespected, ignored, unloved? Your next move is to validate that feeling. Now, listening to me, I want you guys to understand this is the most important part. because validating their feelings does not mean you're agreeing with their nonsense. Now, let me say that again for the people in the back. You are not agreeing with them. You're just saying, okay, I hear you. From where you standing, I can see why you'd feel that way. That's it. It's one of those most powerful peacemaking tools on the planet. It sounds like this. Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So, from your perspective, it feels like I'm not talking so seriously, or I'm not taking you seriously. So, of course, you'd feel dismissed and angry. That makes total sense. Wow, I never looked at it that way. Now that you explain it, I can see why you feel completely shut out in this situation. That's got to be frustrating. So when I do X, it makes you feel like you're being controlled. I get that. Thank you for telling me. I can understand why you react so strongly to that. In that moment, you gave their ego the very thing it was screaming for, the feeling of being heard and understood. You didn't say that they were right. You didn't say that you were wrong. You just said their feelings were valid from their perspective, where you would be shocked at how fast a person's defense would melt when they finally feel heard. The need to be right just disappears when the fear of being unheard goes away. And the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. If they're not feeling validated, that's the only thing that matters. Once you've validated them, y'all can work out whatever the hell the issue is. Because a lot of the times, an argument will come about because of their feelings, not because somebody made a mistake. So you can't fix the problem because there isn't a problem outside of their feelings are not being addressed. So let's say your partner's mad because you made plans with your friends on a Friday night without talking to them first. They hit you with, you're so selfish. You never think about us. You just do whatever you want. The old you says selfish. I ain't selfish. We don't have plans. I'm allowed to have a life. And the fight is on. The new you, after calling that ego timeout, comes back with radical curiosity. And you say to them, help me understand what's the most upsetting part of this for you. Your partner tells you it's that you just assume I'm doing nothing. You just fit me in when it's convenient. You hear the feelings. They feel unimportant, like an afterthought. Now you can respond with, okay. So when I make plans without checking in first, it makes you feel like you're not priority and that I take you for granted. Is that right? Your partner should respond with, yes, exactly. It's disrespectful. So you can now apply strategic validation. I can absolutely see that. If I felt like I was an afterthought to you, I'd be hurt and angry too. It makes perfect sense that you feel disrespected right now. Just feel that. The whole energy just shifted. Just me explaining it to you. Just listening to that conversation, your whole energy just lifted from hostility to calm. And we're not even in a fight. You're just listening to me talk about the example, but notice how your whole energy just shifted. There's nothing to argue about because you validated the core feeling. You didn't agree that you were selfish. You agreed that from their side, it felt disrespectful. That's the key. Only then, after they feel heard, can you actually solve the problem. Now you can say, look, I never want you to feel like an afterthought. That wasn't what I intended. But I see how what I did made you feel that way. So going forward, how can we do this better so we both feel respected? You just turned a character attack, you're selfish, into a simple problem you can solve together. How do we coordinate our plans? You did it by making your partner feel so completely understood that the fight just became pointless. That's how you get them to listen. This last strategy is the black belt level. It's the toughest one because it takes a whole new level of strength and courage from you. This is about setting real non-negotiable expectations with real consequences. But first, you got to do this internal work of not taking their behavior personally. This is what you do when the first two strategies ain't enough. And there's going to be some that the first two strategies ain't enough. They're going to be poking you in the back of the head and saying that you ain't shit. You're going to recognize that some of y'all picked the most conflictual person in the world to be in a relationship with. And I'm here to tell you, make that fucking relationship work. Ain't no abandoning it and going to find somebody that's less conflictual. There is somebody for everyone in this world. And if you pick the conflictual one, just like Ash picked Pikachu, you're going to have to make that situation work. So when we have these individuals where the other two strategies ain't enough, when it ain't just about winning the fight, but about a pattern of disrespect or criticism, you understand? This isn't even about them winning the fight. It's about them expressing a pattern of disrespecting you and criticizing you. Before you can set these non-negotiable expectations that sticks, you have to truly believe in your soul that their behavior ain't about you. I know that sounds crazy. When the person you love is coming at you, how can it not be personal? Well, from where I come from these days, it's just business. It's just business. I don't take most things. I can get frustrated about some of the simplest, ignorant shit that'll happen around me. Specifically because if I give you an instruction and you don't listen, that's like the only thing that make me mad. You can do something and make a mistake. You can forget to do something and it still need to be done. But for example, if I was to tell you to not interfere with my ability to make money. So if I take a break, I'm going to the bathroom, getting something to eat. I got to do things in between contracts. That is not the time for you to have a conversation with me. You have a conversation with me when I'm off, when I ain't got nothing to do. So if I'm in the middle of clients, I'm trying to get me a cup of coffee, you trying to hold a conversation. I'm like, why are you talking to me? I got to go to work. I'm frustrated in this moment because you know that I'm on the clock right now and you're trying to entertain yourself with my presence because I work from the house. No, you need to leave me be. And when I clock out, I will find you and I will give you the entertainment that you need. And I make it a point to come and find you when I don't got stuff to do so that you can get the entertainment from me that you need. So until I come find you, you need to leave me be so that I can make this money. That's it. There's nothing else that you could do wrong from my scenario, because I mean, I control the whole scenario. I handle the finances. I got everything under control. I got stuff coming in on clockwork. We don't have to argue about groceries. They get delivered to the doorstep. So if I don't go to the store to go pick stuff up, I get it shipped to the house. All you got to do is just leave a note somewhere that says we out of X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. If I didn't see it when I was making a grocery list, I'll write it down and I'll add it to the list, and they'll drop it off either first thing in the morning or last thing at night. We can get 2 deliveries a day, and you know, the groceries be on the steps. So whatever it is that you need is always in the house with 8-hour delay from when you ran out to when it gets here. So there's nothing going on. We got all the packages dropped off at the house. We got all the mail going to certain locations. Everything is done in 2 to 3 months in advance. So your appointments can still be worked out. If you got a doctor's appointment or something, we got plenty of time to work that stuff out. We can get you a cab. If I don't have time to drive you, you can drive yourself if the car is available. Like, we got all this stuff. We got plenty of time to plan. So the only thing that I can really get upset about is that right here while I'm trying to work, you trying to talk. That's not gonna work for me. So, in other relationships, they got a whole lot of stuff that they can fuss and fight about. They got a whole lot of stuff that they can fuss and fight about. So we got to make sure that we pay attention to those individuals. That sole purpose is to criticize and complain. And here's how. You got to understand that their need to be right, their anger, their criticism, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of them. That ain't got shit to do with you. Their bullshit ass attitude is about what the hell happened to them when they woke up this morning on the wrong side of the bed. And I mean, when I had a partner that was like that, where they would wake up on the wrong side of the bed, I would switch spots with them. Think it's a joke. I'm not playing. Put them back in the bed. I would cross over them and make them get out the other side of the bed. And they laughing at what the hell just happened. And what's going on? I said, well, shit, you got up on the wrong side of the bed, so I put you back in the bed so you can get out the right side of the bed, so I ain't got to deal with this for the rest of the day. So from now on, you getting out the other side of the bed because this side of the bed is bad for you. This side of the bed got you mad at the world. I want you to get out the other side of the bed. Let me spin this bed around so that you can get out the better side of the bed. Basically, I said my experience with tough times in my past relationships tested our commitment due to unhappiness, because by not having enough money made me feel like she deserved better or someone in a better position. That's way back in my young days. But you got to understand, Bayside, when relationships, when a man is having a fight with his woman over money, that's usually how a man feels. A man feels insignificant to the needs and to the desires, not the needs, because he's got her bare necessities. She ain't hungry. Her clothes is clean. She got a roof over her head. Her phone bill paid on time. She got a car to get her where she got to go. But the stuff that she wants to have in life, he can't afford to buy her. He don't feel like he good enough for her because she always complaining about the stuff that she don't get. But she got everything that she needs. And you know that there's another man out there in your neighborhood probably that could spend more money on her than what you can. And you feel like your position as her boyfriend, as her husband or whatever, is jeopardized by your inability to provide. So y'all will end up in a money argument because of stuff that she wants. You can get it for her, but that requires you to sacrifice on the bills. That requires you to sacrifice on a retirement. That requires you to sacrifice on a vacation. That requires you to sacrifice yourself and do it out a whole lot further. That's like you don't eat at the house so that you can spend more money on feeding her. You don't buy nothing for yourself so that you can spend more money on buying her. Then when she come to you and ask you why you wearing them same old boxer shorts with a hole in the back of it because you ain't got enough money to buy yourself nothing, that's the reason why you ain't got no reason to buy you can't buy yourself a new pair of drawers because you keep buying her clothes. You got a pair of socks with holes in them and you wearing socks with holes in them because you buying her that nice dress. You wearing the same pair of pants from high school than it is for you to try to scrape up some extra money and go and pay for a new pair of pants for yourself because you always buying something extra for her. These are the things that ladies don't think about. But that's where the money issues come from. Some men who are expected to be the breadwinner in their relationship. We have money fights with our fiancés and our girlfriends and our wives because the money is tight. The bills ain't getting paid the way they're supposed to get paid, but we don't want to tell her about it. We don't want to ask her for help because we're supposed to have it, right? We borrowing money from this one, robbing Peter to pay Paul, doing compromise and stuff so that we can get that money in so that we can prove to her that she can count on us to cover the shit. Now we frustrated all day, all night. We not getting sleep. We come home, she say the wrong thing, we snapping at her. It ain't her fault, but we frustrated because we don't got enough money to go around. Then when she wants something, that's probably when we gonna snap. When she want to buy some shit off of Amazon that she don't need because she seen it on TV, and then we flip out. Or we didn't flip out when she bought it. We flipped out when the shit showed up on the doorstep. 15 boxes showed up on the doorstep, knowing damn well I didn't have enough money before you bought this shit. Now I definitely don't got enough money after you bought this shit. That's the kind of stuff that happens. You see what I'm saying? Girls' night out, they went out there, crashed the car, came back, car all fucked up, missing a headlight and shit. You're not mad at the fact that she crashed the car. You're mad about the fact that you did not have enough money to do what you needed to do, and now you got to put all this money into fixing this car. That's the stuff that happens in these relationships. It's about the feelings. You know what I'm saying? And that's also what makes us defensive. So then we put up that shield. So you're feeling that she deserved better. You're feeling that you wasn't good enough. You're feeling that you know, her unhappiness was your fault, right? That puts you in a defensive behavior where you're now attacking the relationship to self-preserve yourself in the same relationship. And notice you're talking about way back when. You talk about way back when, but that relationship ended. That relationship didn't last long. He says, Xander, I'm gonna do the bed trick where I'm gonna switch sides when she's acting foul. I can't wait to see her face. Look, how you do it, Bayside, is you lay her back into the bed, right, and put her close to the middle of the bed, right? You get in the bed on your side of the bed, right? And she gonna be like, what the hell? And you literally cross over her and then get out of the bed and tell her, now you get out the bed on that side. And she gonna be like, what the hell is going on? He's like, no, you get out the bed on that side because you got off the wrong side of the bed when you got out of the bed the first time. So you get out of the bed on that side and let's see if your day get better. That type of clowning, you should get a good laugh out of her. You can even go the extra mile and put it into the bed and tuck her in, and you get into the bed, you get tucked in, you cross over her, you get out the bed, and you're like, all right. If nothing else, you have a good laugh, you know. And the thing about it is that it changes the environment. It changes the environment when you start getting creative about how to navigate the frustrations of your partner, because you're not going to know what their problem is. You're not going to know what their major malfunction is until such time as you put forth the proactive effort to ask open-ended questions to get to the bottom of it. What is wrong with you is an attacking questions. What is your problem is an attacking question, because that seems like nothing should be wrong with you. So why is you bitching? Nothing should be a problem. So why is you bitching? There's nothing going wrong. So why is you bitching? Why is you bitching is an attack. From what I understand, you seem to be upset about something. Can you explain to me what that is? They can come back with nothing. And you got those people who always nothing. Clearly it's something, because nothing wouldn't have you in here crying. Nothing wouldn't have you in here sad. Nothing wouldn't have you in here upset. So I want to understand why you feel the way you feel and whatever I can do to help you with that. So can you explain to me what is going on with your situation that has you feeling the way you're feeling? Can you explain that to me? And that gives them the ability to tell you all the stupid shit. This is a judgment-free, resentment-free conversation. So no matter how she attacks you in her complaint, you're ignoring the attacks on your character and you are listening to how she feels and why she feels that way. And you're going to pause. You're going to think about this for a little bit. And then you're going to respond solely based on the feelings, not the character attack, just the feelings. So since these people that's on like level 3, it's their fear talking. And that's why I tell y'all it's not personal, it's just business. It's their insecurities talking. So it's not, they haven't fallen out of love out of you yet. They will fall out of love with the increased quantity of resentment. He laughing, basically laughing like you damn right. I'm dealing frame drops. I'm sitting over here looking at this podcast like the internet then gave me. They done shot too many fireworks in the neighborhood. The damn tower can go down. And some of these people who are arguing with the criticism and the negative banter, it's their past talking. They lashing out on you because they ex did some stupid shit. Their behavior is a symptom of their own problems. Ain't got shit to do with you. You're just the closest target. Misdirected rage. You need a mantra, a short phrase you repeat in your own head when they start up, something like, this is their fear, not their love. Y'all could take this with you. This is their fear, not their, you can tell yourself that. This is their fear, not their love. Right? I'm going to get this stuff to both of y'all so that y'all, Twitter, y'all going to get this as well. Y'all can use this stuff. I want y'all to understand that. There's another one. There's another mantra. It says these are short mantras. This is about their stuff, not my worth. This is about what the fuck going on with them. I ain't got shit to do with this. Let me find out what's going on with them, because I didn't do nothing. I know I ain't did nothing. I ain't do nothing. Let me find out what they got going on. You understand me? You know, hold on. Whew. We're trying to get the internet to keep up with us. It done lagged out again. There you go. There you go. We catching up. Here goes another one. I'm a mirror for their own problems right now. And this is a good one, because if you remember Michael Jackson talking to the man in the mirror back in the day, when people usually vent because they don't have the ability to talk to somebody else who's not going to judge them negatively or talk about their personal life in public, they would typically sit in a room by themselves, looking in the vanity mirror and talk to themselves in the mirror. You're not crazy when you're talking to yourself. You're crazy when you answer yourself back. The fact is that working out your problems by talking it out, hearing it, gets it off your chest. Hearing yourself say it gets it off your chest. It relieves a lot of stress. It relieves a lot of anger and frustration. So people used to talk to themselves in their room and mind their own business. Now, if you the man in the mirror, I am a mirror of their own problem right now. So my partner is just venting to me about what they got going on. Now, what I'm going to tell y'all is that at the top of this, we got to make sure that the person that we're talking to is not hitting us in the back of the head and throwing stuff at us and throwing stuff on us and all this stuff. We got to keep it non-physical, because when it start getting physical, you got to go. You want to make sure at the beginning of your relationship that you got non-negotiable expectations for behavior where they not gonna get it physical. No matter how much they're pissed off about whatever's going on, they will not get physical. Okay. And that's going to be a non-negotiable expectation for behavior. First time your partner gets physical, you out. There's no second chance. So you can yell, fuss, cuss, every argument. We can work down that negative verbal abuse. But as soon as you get physical, that's the last straw. We're not going to let it go beyond that. We're not going to let your physicality increase into one of us getting broken bones. And I say one of us because you might throw the first lick, but you might not throw the last. And I don't want to go to prison for retaliation. So we're not going to do physicality. Doing this, having these little mantras that I gave y'all. Okay. Doing this first, because it's going to do two things. First, it's like an emotional raincoat. It stops their words from soaking you to the bone. It lets you observe what they're doing instead of just reacting to it. Second, it gives you the calm you need to set a real non-negotiable expectation, because you'll be coming from a place of self-respect, not anger. A lot of us think we're setting non-negotiable expectations because what we're really but what we're really doing is making a request. And there's a difference between setting a non-negotiable expectation and making a request. All-star Izzy, he said, hit the like button. I see you, brother. I see you, brother. Subscribe up. Man, hell, we got a hell of a lot of people up in here coming from Twitter today. It's good to see you, Izzy. Izzy's supposed to have me on his show one week. We're going to figure something out about that. And then after I'm at his show, I'm going to come back over to this show. So when we square that situation away, we're going to be working that stuff out. But it's good to see Izzy coming to the show. I was just talking to y'all about Izzy earlier today on the show, because Izzy, this is the guy that I told y'all that was on the show a couple weeks ago. He was on, we did a whole show together. So there he is. Y'all thought I was playing. I give y'all all the information that y'all need, and I only speak on facts. And remember, so Izzy, in case, because you wasn't here throughout the week, we have picked up on Two Harbors. We're about to sell it, the stock option, Two Harbors. And then after that, somewhere between Monday and Wednesday, we're going to try to get rid of it on Monday or Tuesday. And then after we sell Two Harbors, we're going to be investing in Global Net. And that's going to be the stock option of the week. We're going to put our money down on Global Net. We're going to get us a chunk of change off of it before we start working towards the other stock that we're going to be invested in later this month. So if in the event that you get in on some of the Tuesday shows and look at those dividend rotation strategies that we had talked about a few weeks ago and a couple of months ago, because this past Tuesday, I gave y'all a rundown over the next 6 weeks of stocks that we're going to be trying to grab. And then after that, we're going to be talking about which ones we're going to be doing in August. So I talk about other ways for us to make money, but then I also talk about the dividend rotations, because me and Bayside, Rev Champ, 76, and Satellite have been doing some of the investments. And I know that Steve from Twitter has been doing some of the investments. And we have been getting 3 times more back on our investment options in comparison to just letting the money sit and spin. And Steve actually managed to jump in on the 2nd of July and got Jinko, the stock that I had found on Sunday. He got Jinko on Monday and got paid out on Tuesday. So this week, Jinko made a stack of cash. So if in the event that you got time, you swing through on one of them investment days and we start talking about that money, you'll be here, you'll hear it. And if not, you can always go back and rewatch some of the shows, because I put the information in the comment section so that you guys can go back and rewatch the show, and the comment section replays in real time. So all of the stuff that's being written across the screen gives you the ability to go back and write it down later. If you jumped onto the show and you didn't bring your pen and paper, you can always go back and replay the show and write it all down that time, and then take it with you. That way you got what you need. Also, I said, bet that gotta catch up. I've been out of this world, but I'll tap in, player. Salute. Hey, definitely. Bayside got the dollar signs. We making money, bro. But then I tell you, Bayside, I said, look, these arguments will cost you money, but these arguments ain't personal. These arguments are just business. And that's one of the reasons why these days I don't get frustrated with arguments. I get frustrated with you negatively impacting my ability to make money. Everything else don't matter to me, because if I can afford to pay for the rectification of the situation, I'll pay for the rectification of the situation. But I'll try to communicate with you in a way to get you to not waste that money. Like this past week, I had closed some extra deals because I wanted to buy something that I otherwise would not have bought. I decided to make the extra, and I think I spent less than $100 on what I needed. I don't need it now. I need it in October, but I'm buying it now so that I'll have it for October. and I made the extra $100 that I'm going to spend on that, so that I'm not losing out on any of the money that I normally would put towards investing and paying bills and everything like that. So extra side work so that I could cover the spread. And what happens is in life, you're right, Bayside. Life should be about just business and everything else is petty. Your relationships are highly valuable to you, but your relationships should not have petty squabbles in it. You should be able to be working together as a merger, which is just business. And y'all are working towards y'all personal success, y'all financial success, so that y'all can live the life off of that success happily. Even in a board meeting, the CEOs, the executives argue about disagreements, which direction the money is supposed to go, how the profits are supposed to be made, how much is going into the marketing, what's a failed venture, what's not a failed venture. Even CEOs in the boardroom debate, people in the courtroom debate, but that's just business. When them folks clock out and go home, that's personal. And if you can separate personal from business, you're able to compartmentalize emotions. And instead of lashing out on your family because you had a bad day at work, you're compartmentalizing emotions. When you own the clock, you got a certain behavior. When you off the clock, you got a certain behavior. Likewise, with these discussions, when you have your partner that's acting on emotion, acting on negative emotions, it is, they're attacking you, but they're not attacking you. It's not about you. It's about how they feel. So you got to remember, when we're here trying to set these non-negotiable expectations, we have to understand the difference between when we're making a request and when we're really setting expectations. And y'all gonna hear this because I'm about to give y'all some. A request is, I wish you would stop yelling at me. You're thinking that you're telling them politely to stop yelling at you. That is the furthest thing from the truth. You're asking them, you're making a request to please stop yelling at me. Fuck that shit. These non-negotiables, I will not be in a conversation where I'm being yelled at. Period. So now if they want to convey to you what the fuck going on with them, they're going to have to lower their voice. They're going to have to find their inside voice. They're going to have to find their librarian voice. They're going to have to find their back row of the courthouse voice if they're going to be in this conversation with you. Because if I've got to elevate my voice, you're being too loud. So either you're going to shut it down or we're not going to go through this right now. We'll come back to this later when you're talking to me at the right tone of voice. And you got to stand on that principle. You see the difference between asking and telling. A request asks them to change. The power is in their hands. Non-negotiable expectation states what you will do. The power stays in your hands, because if you remember this, you cannot control what other people do. You control what you do. But you also control what you will allow them to do in your presence. So while you can't stop them from behaving the way they're behaving, you will not allow them to behave that way in your presence. You will remove yourself from the conversation. That don't mean that you're going to leave the house. You can walk away from the conversation, go from the living room to the kitchen. You can go from the kitchen back to the living room. You can go into the bedroom. You can walk around the house if you want to take laps around the house. Go sit on the back porch. Until you can go into the garage, your man cave or whatever, until they lower their tone. You not talking to them about this. It's about what you will and will not put up with. And if you're doing this from the beginning of the relationship, you have the kind of partner that recognizes you can't yell at your father. He not going to listen to nothing you say if you raise your voice at your father. That's where you get them wives that will be able to tell you how to navigate his anger management. She ain't telling you how to navigate his anger management because he beat the shit out of her. She's telling you how to navigate his anger management because she knows what you need to do to get a positive response from him. And anything negative, you're not going to get what you want. So if she wants you to be successful with communicating with him, she's going to tell you what's going to be what you got to do to be successful. Those are the wives that know their husbands, but those wives are still wives 20 years down the line because she learned from these types of methods that there's certain shit she can't do. And as a result, after she has trained herself, because you're not going to train her, she's going to train herself to not do the things that you're not going to put up with so that she can stay in this relationship. Because all you're asking her to do is respect you. In the process, she's then going to project that onto anyone else that tries to engage you. So you don't got to put somebody new in their place. Your wife will do it for you. Because she's going to say, you can't talk to him like that. He doesn't respond well to loud voices. He don't respond well. He don't respond well to threats. You understand? A consequence-based, non-negotiable expectation takes it one step further. You calmly tell them what you will do to protect yourself if the line is crossed. And this isn't a threat like, oh, if you do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to beat your ass. That's not what this is about. That's abuse. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you will not allow yourself to be mistreated by them. That you will remove yourself from this discussion. And you're starting with removing yourself from this discussion. But repetitive negative behavior, compound escalated negative behavior will lead you to removing yourself from this relationship because you're not going to be in an abusive relationship. Now, this ain't a threat or an ultimatum. A threat is about you controlling them. If you leave again, then I'm leaving you. That's the escalation to removing yourself from a relationship. You're not doing that in the beginning. In the beginning, you're setting a straight standard. A consequence is about controlling yourself. If the yelling starts, I will remove myself from the conversation. So I am not going to argue with you. I will not respond anymore in this discussion. I can stand here. I can sit here. I can listen to you the rest of the evening, but I will not interact with this discussion any further. So that's not a threat, but it will lead to, if they're continuously not changing their behavior and you're dealing with an excessive quantity of abuse, you're going to lead yourself into a position where you will have an ultimatum that if your partner can't get the anger management that she or he needs, then y'all might need to start thinking about parting ways. Because nobody wants to be cussed out every day. Nobody wants to be beat on every day. Nobody wants to feel threatened and unsafe in their relationship. So the whole reason you're doing it different is, one, this is a power play. The other, this is self-preservation. A real non-negotiable expectation has a simple formula. If you do whatever you do that is unacceptable to me, then I will do this to protect myself. And whatever you're doing is only going to impact you, leaving them there to deal with their bullshit by themselves. So you're not threatening, oh, well, if you X, Y, and Z to me, then I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to you. You're not going to do anything to them. If they mess this up, I am not going to allow myself to stay involved in that. Like, for example, you have one of them partners that like to wild out in public, have a world star moment where y'all arguing in the street. You start getting wild in the street, I'm not going to stand there. I'll be in the car when you done. I'm not going to stand there. We won't go places together when you're wilding out. We've had some individuals that was on the podcast talking about how their partners be having too much to drink, and then their partners be switching out on them. You can set these non-negotiable expectations to your partner that I dictate how many drinks you have. And if I tell you that you have had too many, then you are willing to listen to that and we will leave. Or you do whatever you want and I will leave. But once you've reached your limit, I will not stay at that event. So that gives your partner the conscious choice to trust you when you say, I think you've had enough. You can slow down, because you don't want your partner out there upside down on a bar stool or nothing like that. But if you've got that defiant person who you can't tell me what to do, especially when they get drunk and they start getting belligerent and they start getting verbally abusive, I'll meet you at the house. We discussed before you started drinking that once you've reached your limit, we are supposed to leave. But if you choose to stay, I will leave, because I'm not going to be a part of what's about to happen next. When truthfully, you shouldn't be taking your partner places, getting them hammered if they've got negative behavior, if they've got unresolved anger management issues that come out when they drink alcohol. You should not be allowing them to have alcohol. You should treat them like they pregnant until the until the end of days. But regardless of how you handle the situation, you have to stay calm and firm. No emotions. That's why the mantra is so important. If you get emotional, if you start elevating your voice and they can feel the pain in your soul when you're talking to them, they'll just see it as another attack and the ego will come roaring back. Mama used to always say that it is not the loudest person in the room that you have to fear, but the quietest one. The quietest person in the room is thinking about all the different ways they can fuck your ass up and exit without getting caught. So when you're in a situation where people start getting loud, that's when you lower your tone. That's when you start talking slower. That's when you add more pauses in your phrase so that they can understand that every word that you tell them, you are serious about. In that scenario, whoever you are talking to is going to have a different level of fear, because the power behind your ability to remain calm in a conflictual scenario leads them to feel out of control, because they can't control your emotions. You don't have any in this scenario. And a person that is not driven by their emotions can only be driven by survival instincts. Logic, reason, and survival instincts. And you have to understand that a person that is driven off of survival instincts are either going to fight or flight. And they're going to rationalize which one is going to happen first. And you better hope that the first one come up is flight. So when you are not emotional about the situation, the person that is responding to your lack of emotion is going to have a general concern in addition to their own personal fears. And while they're trying to analyze that, you've resolved the conflict to the magnitude where they don't need all of that bullshit. So let's run some plays. Scenario one, the constant critic. Their behavior. They're always picking at you, telling you that you're doing it wrong, saying they're just trying to help. Your mantra. Their need to control is not about my incompetence. The boundary, the non-negotiable expectation that you're going to set for them. If you continue to criticize how I'm loading the dishwasher, for example, then I'm going to leave the kitchen and let you finish it yourself. You got those people that backseat drive. Speed up, slow down, right turn, light red, light green. Look, if you're going to keep telling me how to drive this car, you can drive it yourself. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the people that backseat drive would prefer not to drive. Believe it or not, they would prefer not to drive. And the only reason why they're backseat driving is because they are afraid of not having control of the steering wheel. They're afraid of not having control of the car. And as a result, they're taking that fear out by micromanaging your driving. The follow through. The second they say, no, the forks go this way, you calmly put the plate down, say, okay, and walk out. No argument, no defense. You just do what you said you would do. Scenario 2, yelling and name calling. Their behavior, when y'all fighting, they start yelling or calling you names. Your mantra, this anger is about them, not about me. Your non-negotiable expectations, I love you and I want to fix this, but I will not be called names or yelled at. If that starts, I will end the conversation and we can try again when we can both be respectful. Notice we, not you, we. The follow through. The second a name comes out their mouth, other than your government name or whatever pet name that they call you in a positive, appropriate scenario, you hold up your hands and say right there, that's what I meant. This conversation is over for now. And you walk away. Not to go pout in the bedroom. You go read a book, watch TV, do something for you. Put your Dre beats on, listen to some music, put on video game calls. Now you might have the kind of person that, oh, this ain't over, and they come following you into the other room and they want to break stuff and this, that, and the third. And when you got that kind of toxic environment, again, I tell you, you're probably going to have to reassess whether or not you should be in this relationship to begin with. But if you recognize with your partner that, hey, this is not where we want to be, and we're going to put a stop to this right here, they're going to see that you're not going to allow them to cuss you out, which means you're never going to be able to cuss them out because you have to stand on the same principles that you're holding them to. But the fact is that they will not disrespect you like that again, because once you've set that standard, every time it happens, you remind them, I told you before that we don't talk when you're yelling and cursing at me. So while I'm being yelled at, or not you would say it, you would rephrase it as, I told you before, or I mentioned this before, because you don't want to say you want to take you out of it. Us, we, me, I. That's how you want to talk so that they're not going to get defensive. I've mentioned this before, that I will not allow myself to be in a conversation where I am being yelled at or cursed at. So since I'm currently being yelled at and cursed at, I am removing myself from yet again another conversation. And I will revisit this conversation when we can revisit this conversation when we can respect each other. And again, you would leave that conversation. The more often that you do not allow them to raise their voice at you ever, the more often that you do not allow them to start cursing you out and calling you out of your name, the less likely it's going to happen. You're teaching them that the behavior is a conversation ender. And by showing them that that particular type of behavior is a conversation ender, that is going to let them know that if they want to keep this engagement going, they are not going to be able to use that behavior. Scenario 3, dismissing your feelings. Their behavior, you say you're hurt and they say you're too sensitive, or That's ridiculous. Your mantra. Because a lot of times, some end up in shaming because you start expressing your feelings. They start devaluing your feelings. Your mantra. My feelings are valid, even if they don't get it. The non-negotiable expectations are my feelings are my feelings. If you tell me I shouldn't feel this way, then I will stop sharing my feelings with you about this. Now, they're recognizing that in this scenario, you are saying that the door of communication will close if the lack of validation continues. The follow through. This one is quite powerful, and it's a very quiet and powerful tool. If they dismiss you again, you just get quiet. If they ask you, and you're going to stop talking, you're just going to stop talking at all. You're not going to get up and walk out of the room. You're just going to stop talking. They're going to go on their little rant. And then, don't you got something to say? What's wrong? As soon as they ask you what's wrong, you restate, like I said, I don't feel safe sharing my feelings on this with you right now. You are creating a consequence that hits right at the heart of intimacy. You are teaching them that your vulnerability is a privilege they can lose. Part 4, getting over the fear. I know this is scary. Setting these non-negotiable expectations is terrifying for 2 reasons. First, you're going to feel guilty. You shouldn't, but a lot of you will. You've been trained to walk on eggshells. This was taught to you in your childhood, not getting on your parents' nerves, knowing your place, knowing your role, shutting your mouth. You've been taught this in most bad relationships where you're walking on eggshells the same way, because typically as adults, we get into the same type of relationships that we had when we observed our parents in their relationships. So practicing yourself to protect yourself is going to feel selfish at first, but it's not. Your peace of mind is not selfish. It's necessary. Second, you're going to be scared of how they'll react. They might get angrier. They might try to escalate it. They might call you controlling. That's just the ego's last ditch effort to get the steering wheel back. You have to stand firm. Remember your mantra. Don't argue with the anger. Just repeat the non-negotiable expectations. Like I said, I'm not going to be yelled at. We can talk when you're calm. Ultimately, setting a real non-negotiable expectation is the final test. It asks one question. Does your partner care more about being disrespectful, or do they care more about being with you? A partner who wants to be with you will, over time, learn to respect the lines you draw. A partner who keeps stomping all over them is showing you clear as day that their ego will always come first. And that information, as painful as it is freedom. It gives you the clarity to decide what's next for you based on what they do, not what they say. That is how you get your power back. Look, for too long, you've been playing a game with no rule book, wondering why you always losing. You've been trying to have a reasonable conversation with an ego that's in survival mode. that will leave you feeling drained, beat down, and crazy every single time. The main thing I want you to hear today is this: you cannot change your partner's ego, but you can absolutely change how you dance with it. And when you change your steps, the whole dance changes. We covered 3 big strategies today. First, the ego timeout, where you learn to be the one to pause the fight and see the person behind the shield. Second, get curious, not furious, where you stop trying to prove you're right and start trying to understand their feelings, validating the emotion to kill the argument. And third, drawing a line in the sand where you protect your own peace by setting firm, calm, non-negotiable expectations for their behavior with consequences, healthy, appropriate consequences, teaching them how they have to treat you. This is going to be in order for them to stay with you. Putting this stuff to work takes practice. It takes real courage. You got to be the calm one in your scenario. In the middle of the storms that you get drug into, you have to remain the calm one. It's going to feel weird at first, but every time you stop a fight, every time you validate a feeling instead of a fact, every time you hold a non-negotiable expectation for behavior, you are teaching your partner and even yourself that your connection is worth more than being right. You're moving from a power struggle to a real partnership. You deserve to feel safe in your own home, and you deserve to be seen as well as respected. The way to get there ain't about winning the next fight. It's about having the tools to make the fight unnecessary in the first place. I know we went deep today, and this is a lot to take in. So I want to hear from you guys. Get into those comments below and tell me which one of these 3 strategies hit home for you the most. Is it the ego timeout, getting curious, or drawing a line in the sand? When you share your stories, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping somebody else in this community. Who's going to throw the exact same thing up and let us know what's going on? I want to see who's experiencing the same experiences that we're experiencing. And me and Bayside was able to mesh heads for a time or two. And hey, if this was valuable to you, do me a favor. Make sure that y'all hit the like button, hit that follow button on Twitter, hit that follow button on Twitch. And I'm going to be giving you guys some new videos every day of the week. We got another one coming up tomorrow that's going to be building you stronger, happier relationships. And we're going to be investing in other options throughout the upcoming week. So I really appreciate your time on tonight's show. That's all I have for y'all for this afternoon. I want to make sure that y'all know that ladies, really, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And then again, fellas, 75% of the podcast is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. And I give you guys all the tools and resources that y'all need to be successful in your households and be successful in your personal life, your social life, and your business life. I want to make sure that you guys take the tools and put them into action, because this will aid you in being more successful. I'm helping you preserve your relationship so that you can make it to the marriage. I'm helping you preserve your marriage so that you can continue to that 50th anniversary. I'm helping you increase your finances so that you have more disposable alcohol, some discretionary spending, disposable income. I'm helping you build more wealth so that you can set up a retirement, so that you can quit your primary job, so that you can focus more on your family. all of the things that we're doing on this channel, make sure y'all like and subscribe, because I'm doing this for y'all. I'm benefiting from it while I'm doing it, but I'm doing it for y'all. And this is the only place that y'all are going to get financial information and relationship information in the same conversation. Most places are exclusive to one or the other. I'm giving you both sides because you need them both to make your whole world better. So make sure that y'all remember to swing back round. We should be starting up the show around about the same time that we did today, around about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, which is around about 10:30 Central Standard Time, which is about 7:30 California time. Make sure that you guys hit the notification buttons, because we got a lot of the shows scheduled for this week already. I do believe I got to put up Thursday and Monday. I haven't seen what's going on for Monday yet, but I do know that Thursday should be going up real soon. And whichever channel that you come from, whether you come from YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, you'll be able to come through and you'll be able to experience what we got to offer. But anything that you miss on the show, you can come back and watch the replay exclusively on YouTube, with all of the comments in the comment section being replayed in real time. Special shout out to Rickshaw. Rickshaw's coming in as we're walking out. I appreciate you coming into the show tonight. Rick, if you want to see, because today we were giving you some information on how you could deal with conflict resolution with your partner when your partner is acting on ego and emotion. That's a good question. What is your IQ, would you say? Upward of 125. Higher than the top 85 percentile. If that matters. IQs tend to improve over time. The more you do research, the more you know, but it also tends to de-escalate over time based on poor health choices with drugs and alcohol and other such things. Your memory recall starts becoming bad. Age starts declining your mentality. In order for you to maintain the stability of your mental capacity, you would have to train your mind healthily with strategy-based games, board games, Sudoku, stuff like that. Things that make you think outside of the box. Give yourself chores and responsibilities when you don't have anything else to do to keep you stimulated with achieving and successfully attacking something in an appropriate fashion. It even in your late 70s and late 80s, you deteriorate faster when you have no purpose in life. Rickshaw says, have a good night, you brilliant black genius. Catch you next stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think that because the last time I had an IQ test, that's where we were. But I think that that's a pretty decent. I don't know what the range is supposed to be. I think the average individual is somewhere around 100, and I'm pretty sure that the above average starts hitting around about 115, and I know that I'm about 125, 127, so I know I'm in the top 85%. But I've always been that way. Not quite gifted, but definitely reasonably intelligent. And your IQ, your intellect can increase and advance itself based on your ability to obtain knowledge. And since I research every day of the week, and then I utilize critical thinking, I'm capable of enhancing my knowledge and enhancing my IQ. So, you know, my IQ might be a whole lot further than what it was back in the day. I don't know. But they got some of those free online IQ tests. If I ever take the time to go and take one, I can let you know if I end up having a new score. But that's where my score has been. So with that being said, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.